right, it is 3:05 and we are live.
Ooh, I like that.
Me too. So in this video, we're going to. So last week we did a pre-playoff guarantee, and in another video we're going to go over those results. I was actually impressed. They weren't all guaranteed. There was only one, but it was also kind of a historic game in some ways that we missed it. So I felt pretty good. This will be a guarantee, though.
You would have to think, right?
Even if we have completely different guarantees, they will both be right.
Oh, 100%.
So you can walk away from this 100% with full confidence that you have heard the truth, which is, I think, all we say. That's one of our
That's what we hang our hat
mantras. Yeah, we hang our hat on never being wrong about anything.
It's pretty much impossible, but we do it somehow. Somehow we find the way. And
it's hard being us.
That's what you got to think about.
My back is occasionally bent under the burden of knowledge of future events, but today I'm going to alleviate some of that burden and tell everyone what's going to happen. And we'll probably have a little bit of some disagreements.
I would think,
I actually don't think that my predictions are going to change from when last week we walked through some of like what we thought might happen and who would be in the Super Bowl. But even though we were guaranteeing it, we said we'll see who makes it in. I actually think that my predictions won't change. I would like to maybe compare with what I had. Do you have the picture?
I have to look for it. Let me
Okay.
Give me a second if you want to continue to talk.
I think that there's some easier games to pick, and then obviously some that we're probably going to disagree on the outcome.
Yeah,
I think we disagreed last time. I don't know that will change. And of course I say that, and then the ones that we think are really obvious are going to be upsets, and the ones that, I don't know, it'll be blowouts. Obviously, the first seed teams, the Chiefs and the Eagles, are coming in. This will be their first week of games. That is a blessing curse scenario. It seems like every year where some teams come in just super rusty.
So I have it pulled up here.
Okay. So this is
obviously the left side is 100% correct. We got that 100% correct. The only issue was with the Vikings losing, it kind of flipped these. So Dallas is actually playing San Francisco.
Okay.
And
I was going to say this is not...
the Giants are playing Dallas or are playing the Eagles.
Interesting. So I was wondering about that because this was obviously not the matchup. I actually think, though, that my set of teams that make it to the next round are still the same.
You think it's going to be Kansas City, Buffalo, Philly, and San Francisco?
Yeah.
I think I am very concerned. Now that we see this, we can kind of go back, I guess.
Yeah.
Obviously,
let's do the easy one. The Chiefs, Jaguars.
Should be easy.
Again,
the only thing
Jaguars
is
barely won. But they came back.
The whole thing is what if second half Jaguars show up against a Kansas City team that again had the bye week. You don't know what's going to be like coming off the bye week. Yeah, exactly. If the Jaguars carry over that, plus the Chiefs look a little bit lackluster in the beginning, it really could be a very close game, if not Jaguars winning.
The Jaguars are they're what the Bengals were last year, and in some ways are maybe still just less so. They are the perfect spoiler team where they have the offensive power, but they don't have the history to make teams take them seriously.
Yeah.
Right? So they're a wolf in sheep's clothing in some ways. People now know that the Bengals, after their to the Super Bowl run, are a team to be contended with. The Jaguars still feel, and I'm sure a lot of teams kind of perceive them as a team that's up and coming. And it won't be this year that they make a deep playoff run. And there's always the risk that you underestimate, and then they have those offensive weapons and they pop off. With that being said, I have to pick the Chiefs.
I think you have to pick the Chiefs.
You have to pick the Chiefs.
I think personally, again, I could get bit again with this. I think the easiest game to call would be Eagles Giants.
I agree. The Eagles.
I think the Eagles, especially. I'm pretty sure Jalen Hurts is playing. I know he played the last game of the regular season. I haven't heard anything else.
Yeah.
If he's playing in that defense and that team and that I think that is an easier game than the Jaguars Chiefs. Obviously, the two tomorrow are going to be very interesting games. But I think again it could get bit. But I'd say my guarantee would be the Eagles. I really struggle to pick against the Jaguars because I love the Jaguars. I love how they've played. I really think they're going to take off, and I think losing the lead or gaining the lead last week and getting that experience of a playoff win is so important for teams, especially young quarterbacks like Trevor Lawrence and stuff. I think that's going to carry over next year.
Yeah.
But I think the Chiefs, again, they went down early a couple years ago, real bad. They went down like 24-0 in one of the playoff games where they had come off the bye or whatever. And they just completely turned around and won. I don't think it's going to be that bad for them this year. I think they're going to be very good against the Jaguars. I think they end up beating the Jaguars.
Yeah.
But I would not be surprised if this Jaguar team puts up a good fight.
If it's not an
exactly.
easy win.
Again, so I think we're both in agreement that it'll be Chiefs Eagles for these games today.
You have to pick those teams, right? Like,
I don't think the Giants put up a game what they did against the Vikings. I think the Giants.
I would be surprised if Daniel Jones has another career level game, right?
Exactly.
I mean, honestly, the Giants are here because he had the best game ever played
against. Yeah, and so I think the Eagles are going to do really well. Chiefs again, Bengals Bills.
This was the upset last year.
Is going to be a very interesting game. Yeah. Obviously,
it's not as obvious as it seemed 2 weeks ago.
No, and I think also a major thing too is this was also the DeMar Hamlin game from earlier, like 3 weeks ago maybe, when it was the exact same matchup at the Bills. Right. Or I guess it was in Cincinnati.
There's been no resolution.
I think he's going to be there today. Yeah. He's actually going to be in the stadium with the Bills and everything.
Or tomorrow,
yeah. And I think it's so interesting because both teams did not provide me with hope last week.
Right.
You would think against backup quarterbacks that those two teams that are really Super Bowl contenders at this point, obviously with the whole year they've had, Bills are really good. Bengals have turned it around crazily in the second half of the year.
Yeah. Made it last year to the Super Bowl.
Exactly. So it's one of those things where it's like on paper and everything, these two teams are really well matched up and everything. It again leaves that bitter taste in my mouth last week when both teams squeaked out the win against really tough, bad opponents. Bengals should have lost.
Yeah, I would say more like the Bills. It was surprising how somehow the Dolphins kept putting up points on them.
I think it was because Josh Allen did not play well. I don't know why he had 2 interceptions.
But so that has actually been kind of a quiet storyline of the year. He's had a couple of bad games or bad stretches over the year. I still think, and like you said, the Bengals, the game was almost out of their hands.
Yeah.
And a bad play call was made. They leaped forward, and credit to the defensive line for hitting. Yeah, I don't know which player did. Hit the ball and made the fumble, and then the return.
Yeah, a 99-yard return for a touchdown. Mark Andrews really showed a lot of heart on that play. I do want to shout that out. But again, if one team had showed me something, like if the Bengals had come out and whooped up on the Ravens. Yep. And the Bills had kind of done what they did against the Dolphins, I would have picked the Bengals. I think the only reason I don't know what your thinking is, but I think the Bills, just because of the emotions and because it's at home, is the only reason I picked them.
Yeah, I think they have been a more solid team for a lot of the season. I think there's a couple of storylines that they feel they need to reconcile. The upset, of course, last year in the divisional round. The DeMar Hamlin.
I think there's a lot of emotions, and you don't. And again,
and emotions could get cloud your ability to play.
And that's the other thing. You're exactly right. I think it'll be interesting to see how the team responds, both teams respond, because I know the Bengals obviously were a part of that Damar Hamlin thing as well. Yeah. So I know it's very tough to see that for their team as well. They had to go through that, and so both teams are obviously happy that he's okay, doing better and everything. So I know that the football family and everything is excited to see him, that he's doing well and everything. So it'll be interesting to see him there, to see how the Bengals start off, or the Bills and the Bengals, I guess, too, start off the game with that emotion on them, and see if they can, keep it going throughout the whole entire game. Because it's going to be an interesting, probably back and forth. I don't see how this game is going to be someone dominating another team. I think both defenses are solid. I think both offenses, obviously Bengals offense is amazing. Incredible. Yeah. Bills offense is solid. Again, with, Diggs, and it kind of like their running backs have kind of come around with Cook and everything. Singletary and Hines, of course. The Hines returnability it has to be noted because of what he's been doing recently. I think the Bills squeak one out.
I think they. I have to pick them. I have to pick them. I guess I can't justify not picking them.
I agree.
I think the Bills' defense is probably better than the Bengals' defense.
Yeah.
And I thought the one thing that can be said about the Dolphins is that prior to Tua getting injured, they were looking like a Super Bowl caliber team, and so their quarterback played really poorly.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Their third string, but it was still a team that, other than the quarterback, was a high-powered Super Bowl caliber team. The Ravens are not that team. Yeah. The Ravens don't have, I would say, clear offensive weapons except for Mark Andrews. I mean,
Mark Andrews, yeah.
He's kind of
maybe if you want to throw in Dobbins, if you want to throw in a running back.
But as far as receivers
go, no receivers.
Yeah, and so they're just sort of in flux, and that was their game to lose, and they lost it. And so I just think from that standpoint, I have to give it to the Bills.
And again, I think this game is going to be a really good game. Yeah. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I don't think it's going to be, Bengals go out and just crush the Bills. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Bills might turn out to have a blowout, like to blow out the Bengals just because of the emotion and everything. But I do not see that happening. I see it as a very close game that the Bills have the last possession or something like that. Or just stop. Maybe they stop the Bengals offense. I see it as a close game that the Bills turn out to win. Yeah. And then the last game. I think this game's going to be a lot more interesting than people think. I think
hardest game to call, actually. I think.
I would think, yeah. I would think it goes this game and then Bills, and then I'd say Jaguars or Chiefs, Eagles. I think that's kind of the order of like how hard it would be to judge these games. I think the Cowboys looked really good, and the defense has shown up for them.
Yes.
And obviously the 49ers have been good throughout the whole entire year.
Yes.
Or I shouldn't say throughout the whole entire year. For the past, 10 weeks or something like that. They're on, a crazy win streak.
They're probably, 12 games in a row now or something like that?
Something like around 10 or something. I don't know. But I think this game will be on Brock Purdy. Because I think if you are the Cowboys, I don't think. I mean, they have a decent,
This is his first real defense.
This is his first real defense.
Or on paper, real defense.
And he's looked really, really good. And I think
the weapons are all there.
I think Dak Prescott has a lot of pressure on him as well. Yeah. I think they've been a Super Bowl contender for years now and really have not shown up in the playoffs.
Right, because we've ranked them for a while as an S
caliber
team, and on paper they are. And every so often in games they show that capability that they are an S tier team. But there is something with the Cowboys, and we might have even reflected this in our playoff predictions afterwards. They are an S caliber team. They have the talent. They are one of the great constructed teams. I don't know if it is coaching. I don't know if it is Dak Prescott, but there's almost something spiritual or intellectual with the Cowboys in years past that has not been there. Yeah. And it's difficult to put your finger on what it is because they should be returning in glory. They had reasons to think they were building a dynasty.
Yeah.
After his rookie year, Ezekiel Elliott, They've had a good defense.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
they've struggled on the defense side a little bit. But,
I guess that's true.
But recently, especially, Micah Parsons has looked incredible this year. I think the secondary with Diggs and everybody have looked better. Anthony Barr's on the defense. Like, they've built the defense up. Obviously, Lawrence and everything. Like, they've built that defense up to perform well. It's the fact of they can't close out the playoff games. They can't make that next step.
There's something about it that you would expect or you would hope that there's that redemption arc for them, but it's almost like it's gotten in their head right at this point that they are the dominant team that collapses in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right? And so that is that history makes this game harder to call. And I mean, obviously San Francisco has shown themselves to be a unbelievably talented team.
Yeah.
That's using a third string quarterback.
And that's the thing is streaks come to ends.
Yeah, have to.
Streaks have to come to end, and it's whether that we just have to pick the right ending.
Yeah.
Is it against the Cowboys this week? Is it against, is it not until next year? Right. What at what point do they lose? Yeah. And it's so difficult to tell about this game like we had discussed. Who wins this game? And again, the home teams, it looks like we're picking all home teams. I don't know what your pick is for this game, but I think you have to stick with the 49ers. And I could go either way. I really could.
I was going to pick the 49ers.
You were?
That is my pick. Is the 49ers.
Yeah, I think if we stick, because we stuck with like the playoff prediction, we did so well in the first round and everything. We can stick with our predictions and kind of just see what happens. These games are obviously a lot harder than the wild card, in my opinion. I think
these are teams that have been weeded out. I mean, they've shown themselves to be some of the best. I mean, you could maybe argue some, one bad game and a team's not there, but they've shown themselves to be arguably one of the top 8 teams. Right?
Yeah, and I think you look at the playoffs and you look at the teams here, it makes sense.
It makes sense.
Like, I mean, maybe Chargers and Jaguars are kind of flip-flop, and then the Vikings and Giants kind of flip-flop.
But the rest really, of the teams all make sense here.
All make sense. You look at the during the season, beginning of the season, you're like, okay, you have the Bengals, you have the Bills, everybody had the Chiefs.
These were teams that we all had in the A or S tier, except, I mean, obviously, I guess at the beginning of the season, no one saw the Eagles being as good as they were.
I don't think we had the Jaguars up there, probably.
Well, no. I mean, other than the Giants and Jaguars.
Okay.
The other 6, I'm saying.
Yeah.
The other 6 were all teams that A or S tier teams, except Eagles, I think we thought were probably B tier.
Yeah, I mean, they were all up there.
And then the 49ers, they did struggle at the beginning, but since the Christian McCaffrey trade,
they lost the game that he first started or whatever. But since after that game, so he had played against, I think it was the Chiefs that game.
Right.
They had gotten him, and he had been there for like a couple days, and they tried to put him out there. They lost that game, but ever since that game,
they've been dominant.
They haven't lost.
Right, and so they've ascended as well into that A tier.
Yeah.
The only thing keeping them from S is the quarterback.
It's the quarterback.
Question. Yeah.
And that's the interesting thing is you plug in any starting quarterback in that team, and you're like, oh my gosh, who can stop them?
Yep.
And I think that's what at this point it's just themselves at this point. Like,
and I think that from a coaching standpoint, I'm gonna go maybe with 49ers.
Yeah, I think
their system. We will see. We will see. The Cowboys, again, they are a great, well-constructed team, but when they get kind of knocked off balance, they start reeling. They're not super good at regaining their footing.
And I think
they have sometimes, but
I mean, I think I again, as we continue to talk about this, it's Cowboys. Like, it's so difficult because, again, like we said before, Brock Purdy, I don't think has really faced a tough defense.
No.
And again, maybe the Cowboys don't have the toughest defense, but with the offense that they have that has the firepower against, again, 49ers defense has always been really good. It's gonna be a lot closer than people think. I also do want to take a shout out to the NFC East having 3 of the 4 teams left. Yeah. Like I don't think a lot of people saw that at the beginning of the year, especially with how these years past have been. Like you take a step back and say 3 of the 4 remaining teams on that side are NFC East. Yeah. It's incredible. I mean, obviously they can have an all NFC East NFC Championship game. Like it's definitely possible. I think we have to stick with 49ers though. I mean, we'll come back to this. I don't want to really change my picks, but it's difficult. It's difficult. Like you said, this game is going to be very interesting to kind of figure out and everything. I'm excited to see what happens.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it starts in about an hour, so
it should be good games.
I think it'll be good. I think the Jaguars have a shot. Depends on what Trevor Lawrence does in the first half and everything. Again, he hasn't lost on a Saturday. Yes. So, but I think there's a lot of things to look at, and I'm excited to see it.
Me too.